Bitcoin struggling to remain above 19,000. We were at about 18,700. We had a green candle up. We thought it might be a breakout, but then Bitcoin started coming down again. I guess the next question is, what is the next move? And if we're going to go lower, how low can we go? So today, what we've got for you guys is we've got Coach K, and he's going to be looking at all the different levels that we could be getting to. Then we're also going to be looking at exchanges, and I'm going to show you which exchanges are safe and which exchanges my suggestion is that you get your coins off immediately. So make sure that you watch the show until the end, because it could cost you lots of money if you don't. So happy 4th of July. Happy 4th of July to all our American viewers. Happy birthday, America. Let's get this show on the road. Yo, rise and shine. It's 4th of July. It's 4th of July. Happy 4th of July, especially to our American viewers. You guys have got the day off. For the rest of us in Africa and Europe and Australia, we're here. We're hard at work. We're bringing you crypto love. We're bringing you crypto wisdom. So if you're new to our channel, welcome. Subscribe to the channel. Join the most amazing community in the entire world. And let me tell you, this is the most amazing community in the world. In the bull market, in the bear market, especially now I see that everybody's getting salty. It's salty out there. Have you noticed the amount of salt that we're getting out there? Oh, goodness. Apparently some guy made a video about us and then went on to show a paid group and show Cardano or something. I don't know. Someone told me earlier. I wonder. You gotta laugh. Alrighty. So listen, if you're new to the channel, subscribe. If you've been here for a while, like this content, give us some love. Here we are on the 4th of July holiday, bringing you crypto love and crypto wisdom. And there's a lot to talk about this week, because you guys obviously saw that there was FUD around KuCoin, and that got a lot of people asking whether KuCoin is solvent and whether there are other exchanges that could actually collapse. So we're going to spend a lot of time talking about the exchanges and whether they can collapse and who would be likely to collapse and when you should be, which exchanges you should be using and how you should be using the exchanges, because I think that that's a very, very, very big part of where we are in crypto. Then we got Coach K with us today. And Coach K is going to go through all the levels of all the different tokens where he thinks he would be buying. And remember, Coach K, a good friend of the channel, has been right. He's been calling this down since January. And people in January were abusing him. And the guy took a lot of flack. But he's right. And he's still got his short open. And his shorts, I think, 1,200% in the profit. So very, very, very excited to see what Coach K is going to bring us today. All right, before we do that, let us look at the markets. So we are trading sideways in this accumulation pattern, if you look with Bitcoin. And I remember I said to you guys that I think that now it's a range trading scenario. So until we break up or break down, you kind of got this range. If you look at the range, you kind of look at the top of the range. The top of the range is somewhere around about here. So let's just quickly draw a line over here. So around 21,500, if we can break that level. And then you got the bottom of the range, and you can probably say that the bottom of the range is somewhere around here. So somewhere around the 18,000, top 18,000s. And until we break up or down from that range, there's kind of a lot that you can do trading in that range. So you can be trading, the bottom of the range. If you were buying the bottom of the range at like 18.8, 18.9, you're now well up in the trade. And for me, this is the range until we confirm that we break down or break below this. I'm trading this range. If it breaks up above 21.5, I'm going in as if it's bullish. And if it goes down below 18,700, 18,600, you can decide where you want to put the line. Where you want to move the line and the wicks, call it 18,500 is the lowest part of that range. So that's where the trades are, and that's how I put in some trades this weekend. I bought some Bitcoin at 18,800. I even took a long position on KuCoin, on the KuCoin token at about $8.08. And the reason why I did that is because I think it's just unsubstantiated FUD, and we'll talk about that in a couple of seconds. Look, it's not only crypto that's suffering. So if you think that you're in this boat alone, and if you're feeling like this is hurting, and it is hurting, it's hurting everyone. It's not only crypto. So if you look at all the other markets you've got, look at the stock markets. Look at the first half performance of the stock markets. Apple, which is one of the biggest shares out there, maybe I think one of the biggest companies in the world, 23% down. Microsoft, 24% down. But then you go down, and let's ignore crypto for a second. Let's go to Shopify, 74% down. Snap, 72% down. Netflix, 70% down. PayPal, 60% down. Facebook, 53% down in one quarter. It's brutal. It's brutal for all kind of asset classes. It's not only crypto. It is brutal out there. And if you look at the standardized portfolio, like they say, you're supposed to have a standard portfolio with 60% equity and 40% global bonds. If you would have followed that advice, your portfolio would have been where it was just before the COVID crash, or actually below where it was just before the COVID crash. So if you look at any performance if you look at Bitcoin's performance or any performance from before COVID, you'll see that we are outperforming the 60-40 portfolio, even though we have had this absolute bloodbath. So we could just go back and look at the 1 week charts just to make it easier for us. If we go to pre-pandemic levels, so I'll make it a bit smaller for us so we can see it. Pre-pandemic levels, Bitcoin was at 10,000. We're still trading at 2x what Bitcoin, what we were trading before the pandemic. Whereas if you look at the 60-40 equity bond portfolio, that's now gone to under COVID levels. That's gone to under COVID levels. And the irony is that you're now getting stocks at under COVID levels with this much more money in circulation. So the Fed put in about $5 trillion into the economy after the pandemic, and we're now at levels where we were pre-pandemic. This is quite a scary picture. So if you think that this is a crypto thing, this is not a crypto thing. It's all markets in the world are starting to bleed, and we're starting to feel the pain of. And we haven't even spoken about the reduction of the Fed balance sheet. The Fed hasn't even started to reduce, and already we're starting to feel the pain in the stock market. So that's where we're at. And in crypto, it's a little bit worse. And the reason why in crypto it's a little bit worse is because if you look at crypto, you've got the big deleveraging or the big unleveraging, so to speak. So yes, in crypto, we're not only dealing with a move in market conditions, but crypto was over leveraged, completely over leveraged. We know that. We know that Luna collapsed, and then with it, we started to see who was wearing pants and who's not wearing pants. So when the tide goes out, they say you'll see who's wearing pants and who's not wearing pants. And now we're starting to see that some of the heroes that were big heroes when the tide was up, when the tide has gone out, you can kind of see that they're not wearing any pants. So what you can see is we had Luna took down Three Arrows Capital. And what happened then was the traditional financial system collapsed. Yeah, the traditional financial system collapsed. And the reason why I say that the traditional financial system collapsed is because when Three Arrows Capital collapsed, what collapsed all around Three Arrows Capital wasn't the new financial system. It wasn't crypto. It was the old financial system which collapsed. I know you think I'm crazy, but hear me out here. If you think of the things that collapsed because of what happened to Luna, and as a result, what happened to Three Arrows Capital, and maybe a couple of other people that we don't know about yet. But what you'll realize is that the companies that collapsed around it were centralized entities. So you had Three Arrows Capital ordered into liquidation. You've now got Voyager Digital suspends all trading and deposits and withdrawals. As a result, they did that on Friday. Okay. Centralized company. You got BlockFi in trouble, centralized company. You got Celsius in trouble, centralized company. But if you look at DeFi, if you look at how DeFi is operating, if you look at Compound or Aave or any of those guys are operating perfectly because those guys are all written into code. What's not written into code is decentralized entities. And what we're seeing now is that whenever there was a centralized entity involved, whenever there was risk or lack of risk management, which was driven by emotions of humans, the whole thing just fell apart. And Three Arrows Capital managed to pull the wool over everyone's eyes, to charm people or to get people to give them loans based on fake balance sheets. Now, that's something that could never happen in DeFi. In DeFi, either you've got the money in your portfolio as collateral and you lock it up in a smart contract, or you don't. And so what we're seeing now is we're seeing, again, a brilliant sign for crypto. Yes, we're seeing all the lenders collapse, but the ones that are collapsing are all the ones that were centralized and all the ones that used humans to make decisions and not algorithms or maths to make decisions. So for those of you who are looking at this and going, this is a complete collapse of crypto. No. This is a complete collapse of the traditional financial system. When you try and export the traditional financial system into crypto, into a new financial system that is supposed to be decentralized, you can't do it because what you realize is that you've got the same flaws in the new one than you have in the old one. And that's why what we should be pushing for is more decentralization and more DeFi. This is a great advert for DeFi because CeFi absolutely went and collapsed. What I mean went and collapsed? Voyager collapsed, pretty much now suspends all trading deposits and withdrawals. Why did they suspend all trading with deposits and withdrawals? Well, pretty simple. If you look at the announcement that Voyager made, you realize that they had a loan of 350 million USDC and 15,000 Bitcoin loaned to Three Arrows Capital. Now, when you look at when that was loaned to Three Arrows Capital, the value of this loan is $1 billion loan. So I don't know who at Voyager thought it was a good idea to give a half collateralized, non-collateralized, semi-collateralized loan to Voyager to the tune of $1 billion. What I do know, and I know this for sure, is I know for sure that in DeFi that could never have happened because the smart contract wouldn't have given them a loan unless they actually had the collateral. And so that's what we're seeing. We're seeing the great unwinding of all these centralized ones. Another one, Vold, a crypto lender called Vold, pauses withdrawals. Again, another one bites the dust. Another one of these centralized players bites the dust. So that's where we are today. The centralized players are collapsing in a decentralized world. And what remains is the algorithms the algorithms and the maths which govern the new world that we're moving into. So whereas this is a very sad day because a lot of people have got money in Voyager. I spoke to some friends who've got some money in Voyager and some money in Vold and lost a lot of their money. I think that what we are seeing though is that the future has to be in DeFi because this kind of shit can't happen in DeFi. And I think that that's what's going to happen, what's going to happen coming out of it. But I think in the interim, people are scared. People are super nervous. They're seeing all these collapses and they're asking a whole lot of questions. They're asking, what's next? Could the exchanges collapse next? And that's something that we spoke about on our show. I don't know if you remember, but Vinny Lingham came on to our Friday banter and listen to what he said.
But there may be others. I mean, the contagion spreads. I'm convinced we're going to see a couple of exchanges go under because they tell you your Bitcoin's in the account. So just people watching, when you log into an exchange and you see, oh, I've got a Bitcoin or 2 Bitcoins, that's their system telling you that they've got a Bitcoin holding it for you. That's not your Bitcoin. Try drawing it out. And if enough of us do that in mass, you're going to find that they may have been short, 5 or 10 or 20% of Bitcoin because they take your Bitcoin, they lend it out to these lenders, they get interest on it, they run basically what's called basically fractionalized banking again because they have a required reserve. They know that only 5% of people withdraw their Bitcoin every week, so they don't have to hold the 95%. Why don't they give that Bitcoin to Alex or 3 Arrows Capital or something?
Not for coin. So Vinny Lingham brought this up, and then what we had more FUD. I don't know if it's FUD, but then we had Sam Bankman-Fried also come on and say he thinks that there are some exchanges that are going to fail. He says there are companies that are too far gone, and if you read this article even further, he said, look, there are tier 3 exchanges which are secretly operating insolvent. They secretly don't have money. And this is making the market super, super, super nervous. To add more fuel to the fire, I don't know if you guys remember, but when Coinbase came out with their earnings, what they also warned is they said that if they go bankrupt, then users will lose their funds. So it's not like a bank today where your funds are kind of protected. They're saying, look, if Coinbase goes bankrupt, then users will lose their funds. And so what we're getting is we're now getting people worrying that another domino may fall here. We've already had all the centralized lenders fall, and now maybe the centralized exchanges will start to fall. And people are super worried about that. You can see that because even though we always post this chart as a positive chart saying Bitcoin is leaving exchanges, yes, Bitcoin is leaving exchanges. But why is Bitcoin leaving exchanges? Bitcoin is leaving exchanges because they're worried that the exchanges may actually go bankrupt. And Will Clemente actually picked this up and he said, look, you got the highest rate of withdrawals of Bitcoin from exchanges ever, not sure how much relevance this has to do with price, but more showing people that people are realizing that exchanges are maybe not a great place to be leaving your crypto. And I think to that point, we need to talk because we talk about the use of a centralized exchange. So we already said that in the decentralized world, eventually there should be no centralized players. For now, centralized exchanges are a good halfway point and a good place to be trading. But the reality is that You shouldn't be leaving your coins on any exchange for any reason, unless you want to be trading. You should only be leaving the coins that you want to be trading on exchanges. And I think what happens to people in crypto is they become complacent. They become complacent. And they say, oh, don't worry, it's Binance, it's KuCoin, it's BitGET or whatever else, until something goes wrong. And something can go wrong. Something can go wrong. I just want to talk to you about what can go wrong with centralized exchanges. Well, even Binance. Tell you why it's not a great idea to be keeping your money on Binance, even though I think it's a very, very, very strong exchange. What happens if a government issues a summons or subpoena or wants to freeze your account? They're going to go to Binance, and they're going to give Binance a document. They're going to say, look, freeze Jimmy's account. And then Binance is going to comply with that summons. We didn't build this decentralized movement. We're not a part of this decentralized movement only to be repeating the same mistakes that we made in the centralized world by leaving our money in the banks so that it could be seized from us. We got into this because we want financial freedom. We want to take control of our money, and we don't want to be at the mercy of any government. And so the worst thing that you can do is leave your coins on these centralized exchanges. Centralized exchanges do have a very good use case, and the use case of these centralized exchanges is that you can use them to trade very, very cheap, much cheaper than paying gas costs on the decentralized exchanges. But the idea is that you trade and then you get your money out. That is how an exchange should be used, regardless of what the exchange is or which exchange it is. You put your money on the exchange, you trade, and you get your money out. And it's not only about the exchange going insolvent. It is about the exchange getting hacked. I had some funds in BitGET, and they got hacked. And then I managed to get back like 50% of the funds that I put into BitGET. Crazy. So it's not only about whether the exchange will go insolvent. It's about being hacked or getting letters or notices from the government saying that they have to withdraw the amounts of money. So that is where we should be using centralized exchanges in the centralized world, and only for a while. In a couple of years, I don't think we'll be using centralized exchanges at all. But for now, if you want to use centralized exchanges, it's like going to the store. You go in, you get what you want, and you walk the hell out. It's like going to a strip club. You walk in, you get what you want, you walk out. You don't stay there. You stay there, you're in trouble. Your wife's going to find out. You're going to be in big trouble. So you've got to be careful about going to a centralized exchange. Just think about it like a strip club. You shouldn't be there. It's wrong. You go in, you do what you need to do, you get out. Simple. All right, so this week, what we had more FUD. Or maybe it was FUD. And it started like this. We had this buckle up Brandon straight down the line, the guy calls himself. And he said, I'm hearing rumors that KuCoin is about to halt withdrawals in the near future. I've closed all open trades immediately, and I've taken the money off KuCoin. From what I'm hearing, the rumor will soon be a reality, and do not suffer the same fate as others. And remember, this is in a time where people are very, very nervous because they're seeing big centralized players collapse. And so, right now is the easiest time to take advantage of competitors or to knock your competitors, because if you can start a rumor that a company is going into liquidation because people are so scared, what they're going to do is they're going to listen. So what we had then from KuCoin was we had a rebuttal from them, from Johnny KuCoin, who's one of the founders of KuCoin, and he's the CEO. And he said, look, not sure who's spreading these rumors and don't know what their intentions are, but KuCoin does not have any exposure to Luna, 3 Arrows Capital, Babel, no immense suffer from any coin collapse, no plan to help with all, everything operating well on KuCoin. You can make your own decision. And this got me thinking, what do we look for when we talk about exchanges that we should be dealing with? They said, look, we raised recently $150 million at a valuation of $10 billion. That was as recently as May. We are one of the few platforms that's still hiring. We are one of the most active bear market platforms. And I'll show you in a second why that's always good. And what he's saying here is being transparent is one of our key principles. They'll soon publish a 2022 half one review. And I think in this case, I believe him. But I don't just believe blindly. I actually did the research, and I'm going to show you guys the research. But it got me asking a whole lot of questions about what kind of exchange I should be trading on. What am I looking for when I'm trading on exchanges? And I narrowed it down to 4 things. The first thing is obviously, let's look at volume. How much volume is this exchange doing? Because exchanges that are trading a lot of volume consistently for long periods of time are probably making money. And if they're making money, they probably solve it. The second thing that I'm looking at is, are they hiring or are they firing? Because if they're firing, that may be a warning sign to say, look, this exchange is firing. If they're firing their staff, that means that they can't really pay their staff. That might be a warning bell. The third thing is, how recently did they raise and what valuation did they raise on? Did they raise distressed or did they raise because they wanted to make money? So then I look at that. And the last thing is, I look at to see if whether they're asking to be bailed out or whether they're bailing other people out. And so that is the lens which I look at it. And when I look at KuCoin under that lens, let's look at a couple of things. The first thing is I look at the market share of certain exchanges. And you can see that in this case, KuCoin is this purple color over here. I think it's called magenta. And what you can see is that KuCoin is actually growing. So if you look here, you can see that their share is growing and growing and growing and growing. So you see over here, their share is growing and growing and growing.
Some of the way.
Thanks, Fred. You can see that KuCoin is growing and growing and growing, but you can also see the other exchanges. So Binance is growing and growing and growing. Probably your money's pretty safe in Binance. If you look at Huobi, what you can see with Huobi is that their market share is actually declining. They used to have a huge market share because they were primarily a Chinese-based exchange, and it's actually declining. Gate.io, growing. So you can see that's growing. Crypto.com, declining. So you can see that's one thing. You can see the volume. Then what you can look at is you can look at the volume on the futures exchanges, because remember, one is spot and one is futures. And if you look at the volume on the futures exchanges, you can clearly see that the biggest exchanges when it comes to futures are Binance, BYBIT, and then OKEX, and I think FTX comes after that. But you can see where the volume is on these exchanges. You want to be dealing with exchanges that have good volume. Binance, FTX, Coinbase, Huobi, but Huobi is decreasing. KuCoin, all decent volume and growing volume. So if you look at decent volume, growing volume, nothing to worry about there. It looks like it's all there. To verify that, what I did was I looked at the web traffic, because you may be able to fake your numbers, but what you can't fake is you can't fake the web traffic to do that. And if there was a discrepancy between web traffic and actual trade numbers, then I would have said, okay, there's a problem here. But there's no problem, because Binance is cool, Coinbase is cool. The third biggest exchange in terms of web volume is actually not FTX, but it's actually BYBIT, which means that more people are trading on BYBIT than are trading on FTX. And then if you look at number 4 or number 5, you've got KuCoin. So that to me is another thumbs up for KuCoin. It's also another thumbs up for BYBIT, another thumbs up for FTX. And so what you're seeing is we're building a pattern of which exchanges you guys should be using. You're probably pretty safe with your money on Binance. You're probably pretty safe with your money on Coinbase. You're probably pretty safe with your money on BYBIT. You're probably pretty safe on FTX, and you're probably pretty safe on KuCoin. But as you go lower down, then you may be looking for problems. So you got to be vigilant about looking at these exchanges. And we always tell you guys to use BYBIT because we know that they are financially stable. We're not the only ones. Plan B says that he uses BYBIT to trade. For me, BYBIT is the best exchange, not only because they are, they are sponsors, and KuCoin also sponsor us, and we also have relationships with Binance. So we're pretty like neutral because we have relationships with all the exchanges. But if you look at an exchange like BYBIT, not only do you have proof that they very high in terms of the web traffic and the volume, but they're growing in terms of spot volume as well. So remember, BYBIT was a derivatives exchange, and now in terms of spot, they're starting to grow, and they're starting to be in the top 10 of spot exchange. So again, another fast, safe, very user-friendly exchange where we do have high sign-up bonuses. That's not to say that I'm pushing you to do that. You can go to Binance, you can go to FTX. Just trade on exchanges that are good. Plan B says he uses BYBIT. I agree with him. I use BYBIT for the majority of my trading. But yeah. Also, let's look at 1 month volume. Who are the biggest exchanges in terms of 1 month volume? Binance, Coinbase, OKEx, Uniswap, FTX, BYBIT, Huobi, Crypto.com, KuCoin. I think KuCoin is pretty safe. I think an exchange with this kind of thing is pretty safe. And so I wouldn't worry too much about KuCoin. But what I would say is that you should be using exchanges like strip clubs. You need to walk in, do your business, get out, and take everything with you. Don't leave anything there. Don't leave anything behind there, because you're never going to see it ever again, unless it's a disease, in which case it's going to stay with you for a while. let's look at other things. So you want to see whether they're hiring or firing. Coinbase said that they're firing 18% of their staff. But what we know about Coinbase is we have their balance sheet. And their balance sheet kind of shows that, okay, look, they've got 6 billion of their own cash. They've got 1.3 billion in crypto. They've got $9.7 billion in customer funds. Like, Coinbase is pretty safe because they American regulated, and you've got all of that. Huobi, on the other hand, declining volume, cutting 30% of their workforce because they were a Chinese exchange. Do you want to be involved in an exchange that's declining? I'm not saying anything about Huobi because I think they're probably a good exchange, but don't do your business there. Don't do your business there. Binance, hiring. Today they're hiring 2,000 positions. Great, amazing. So that's another thing. Next one that we need to be looking at is, let's look at price and how much they raised money at. So Coinbase, current valuation, market valuation, market cap, $10 billion. Okay, declining very fast. If you look at their market cap, it was $40 billion not so long ago. It's now $10 billion, being punished by the market. FTX raised in January at a valuation of $32 million. Binance US, only Binance US. So only Binance US, not Binance, just Binance US raised at a valuation of 4.5 billion in May. Those are companies you don't have to worry about. KuCoin raised at 10 billion in May. Don't have to worry about it. Okay, so again, you're looking at what is the latest valuation. I got these numbers on Binance. Read this. This is for me like absolutely amazing. Binance reported a profit of about 1 billion in 2020. They estimate that Binance has 28.6 million users in October 21. That's probably gone up. Binance's spot trading for 2021 is already 7 times larger than its 2020 value. So you could imagine that their profit's probably 7 times larger. So that just shows you how big Binance is actually getting. You want to trade? Binance, Coinbase, FTX, BYBIT, KuCoin. Those are cool. Get in there, do your business, and get the hell out. That's what we're talking about. Also, I said one last thing. I said what you should be looking at is you should be looking at whether they are bailing people out or whether they are being bailed out. Alameda is bailing everybody out. Means they have cash. Means the exchange is probably stable. You see, they try to buy BlockFi for 25 million, but they're buying people. They're not looking to be bailed out. They apparently try to buy Celsius or try to help Celsius, but walked away from that. Binance also bailing people out, buying people. So that is what you should be looking at. And again, I said, if you need to go to a centralized exchange, and I think it's a good idea to go to a centralized exchange now because it's more efficient and it's quicker, then go to a reputable centralized exchange. We've partnered up with who we think are the best. Below, there are links for Binance, for BYBIT, for KuCoin, because we think that they are all safe. And I've showed you the data why I think they're all safe. And I think that right now, you should be extra vigilant because people are looking to FUD. It could be paid FUD by their competitors. I don't know who would have caused it. People are looking to FUD. And right now, with the panic, any FUD will stick because people are so nervous. I saw people withdrawing their money off KuCoin like crazy. 2 questions. Why did you have money on KuCoin, and why do you believe such garbage FUD? Why did you have money on KuCoin in the first place? Anyway, so that's how we would be selecting exchanges. That's what I think. Fred, what exchange is your money on? FTX, Fred says. Crazy. Why do you keep money on exchanges?
Just my trading money. Take the rest off.
Anyway,
Obviously.
What I said to you guys today as well is we're going to bring Coach K back on the show. We're very excited about the segment because Coach K has been calling this down market for a long time. And he has been getting ridiculed. He has been getting memed. He has been getting abused. And today, we had him on last week and he showed us the levels, and we decided to bring him back on the show so that we could see the different levels that he's expecting for the different coins. So without further ado, I bring our man back, Mr. Coach K. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you, man? How's the
Coach, what is your fancy green screen studio?
Oh, it'll be back. I just haven't set it up in this office. I moved to a different city and haven't really had a chance to, and I'm going to Canada for a whole month. So I'll do that when I get back.
Your camera's a little bit blurred on you, and it's very crisp on the door behind you, but it's almost like a little bit lost its focus slightly. Not serious though. All right, we spoke last night about your levels for the market. You gave us a whole lot of levels for the market. Let's go through the levels, and then let's go through the levels on a whole lot of the coins that we all love.
Of course. So I just want to kind of start off with Bitcoin dominance and what my plan was before, while we were going up, while Bitcoin dominance was kind of dropping down, we were going into a super bull market for altcoins. So, that actually bottomed out in May, right before, everything kind of got really ugly. It bottomed out, and then we had liquidity pockets for dominance. It's something to keep your eyes on. As Bitcoin dominance rises, alts get wrecked. We've kind of been seeing that recently. And this is my plan as we came down to these different levels. And if you've been watching my channel for a while, I've basically mapped this out. It's either get into Bitcoin or go into USDC as it got to certain levels, and then kind of wait. So the whole thing that I want to talk about today is patience. Let the market come to you. Find levels and then basically attack those levels when they're in your buy zone. And you have to basically tell yourself, where is your buy zone? So last time we were on the show, we had the good, bad, and ugly zones. So these are my buy zones. For Bitcoin, we just quickly go over those between 13 and 11. And then we have the ones down all the way potentially to 9. Don't really think the ugly is going to happen, but we have to be ready. Like you've talked about with 3AC and all this other stuff. It could go lower. And then with Ethereum, similar types of things here. I had buy zones on the way up. So we had liquidity pockets that kept going higher every time we jumped in them. Even when we jumped into here, we had two nice pumps from there from like 18 to 21. Now we're going back down. We have to look for new levels. So on Ethereum, kind of going all the way back, looking at where levels generally have come to. We're looking at the $800 range as a really, really strong level potentially to come bounce off of. The $600 to $500 range is also a really nice area. How do you play this is the question everyone keeps asking me. Basically, the one thing you've been saying is correct, Ran, that you shouldn't leave your money on exchanges. And so why I'm only going to show you guys major cryptocurrencies today is because you shouldn't really leave your coins on shitcoin exchanges. Things like Gate, no offense to Gate, or Bit Global, or Bitmart, for example, which got hacked for 150 million, or Bit4X. In my opinion, those are not the safer exchanges. The FTX, the Binances, the Wobbies, these are the more safe exchanges with longer reputations, have been through a bear market before and done really well through a bear market. So we're really watching that. And FTX actually was bloomed out of a bear market, the last one. So you got to look at those if you're going to play the trade. Be smart about it, or you can use 1-inch exchange, for example. If you want to set a low buy order, just let the contract execute it for you when it gets there. So on ETH, we have a few levels, right? They're good, bad, and ugly. The ugly level is going back down to, 18, kind of as we retested these levels again. So 400 is my terrible level where if you set it, if you set
400.
Yeah, if you set a level at 400 on ETH, I don't think it's going to happen. Remember, we're looking at the ugliest scenario, and you always have to look at the ugliest scenario because the ones that you don't think will happen or they're impossible or coach, you're crazy, you're psycho, you're an asshole. Generally, those are the ones where you prepare for them. If they don't hit, you just have a buy order that never hits, and you can just keep the cash and cancel the order. So you really have no risk with that situation when you're really looking at super low ball orders. So this is what I do generally, and when they hit, you feel really good. Like this ETH order hit at 900. So in the 900s, we're like wicked. It hit that area. It hit the two buy orders that I had. It went up pretty quickly, rejected off 1300. And as it came back down, I closed the order. So it's something that you have to try to make yourself be really prepared for. And I've had this level on my chart since I think it's like 8-9 months ago. It's like, where will these go to in the worst situation? So I looked for that. And then when it goes in those zones, generally, it may go lower, but generally when it goes to those zones, people are starting to buy because they see those same zones that I see, and especially large scale funds, they're looking at those same levels too. So they're going to play it that way. And so you have to just be patient and wait for it to come when you think something's impossible. Because I've been there. I was there last cycle. I was like, no way that Bitcoin will go this low, and it does. And then you're like, okay, you get humbled and you realize you should look for the worst case scenario because when it happens, the most profitable case scenario is where you make exponential gains. I remember telling a fund way down here, we were in the $80 zone. That's where we're likely going to go to. You should buy in the $80, $90 zone. And that fund bought, and they made 20x on that. And they messaged me halfway through the cycle saying like, dude, do you remember us meeting in Bangkok and we're talking about, wheat farms and other stuff. And we talked about crypto. And I was like, yeah. And they were like, yo, we bought there and we made a shit ton of money. And I was like, amazing. But all I did was draw a level on a chart. And the reason why I knew that level was there is because I just drew, not in this one specifically, but I drew on the Coinbase chart where levels were. And I said, probably go back to 80. And everyone was like, no way. So if you have no money left, you always have a chance to make money. I think we're going to be in a bear market for quite some time. I can give you guys more reasons for that. But let's go actually look at like, give
me a few reasons. Give me a few reasons why we think we might be in a more prolonged bear market.
Okay, so if we let's just go to like a weekly chart on the DXY. So what is the DXY? It's basically the currency index for the United States. So it doesn't just have US dollars, also has euros and I believe Great British pounds, but not as much. But those are what's considered in it. Now, if you go back, when's the last time we were there? It's all the way back in 2002. We haven't had the dollar be this strong. And we already know the dollar's not really strong. It's inflated. So why does it keep going up? Well, people are scared. One thing everyone's forgetting, Bitcoin has never been in a situation where everything else is dumping at the exact same time it's dumping. Last time stock markets were going up while Bitcoin was going down. Now everything's going down. So I think it's going to take a little bit longer. I said 12 to 18 months from April or May. It might be a little bit shorter than that, but I'm going to stick with that until I see a proper reversal. And I haven't seen anything that could be considered a reversal or any positive news at all. We have, like you've been saying, Voyager, we have Celsius, we have BlockFi. All of them are kind of defaulting. We have 3AC defaulting on like 400 million in loans. So this is all negative. Now we go to the different charts to give you guys some zones. Well, on the weekly, it's really simple. You don't see it as much, but we'll kind of zoom out here a little bit. So where are the levels for ADA? ADA has actually been kind of bottoming a little bit, but I think it's going to drop again. I think everything is going to have a drop at some point because it's going sideways, but there's no real volume with the sideways action. So what am I looking at? Where's our weak buy zone? Well, go to highs of last cycle, right? So we're looking at between, $30 cents, sorry.
Yeah, 40 cents.
Sorry, go ahead.
Around 40 cents was the highs, more or less.
Yeah, like 40 cents down to 27 cents. And then we look at like, okay, where would we really go if things get more ugly? So this is my stronger buy area. If we get down in the 20 cent, 15 cent range, I'm going to probably buy stronger, like would mean if I have, let's say 100% of what I want to buy, I'm probably going to buy like 40 or 50% in this range. I'm going to buy 20% in here. And then if we get there, I'm going to make a large buy and add a little bit more. But generally, I don't think we get there. But we look at those and we just plan ahead. So
give me a few more. Give me a few more.
Yeah. So I'll just go through major blockchains. So I talked about this as it was coming down. Adam, I said, I'll buy in this buy zone. Came down, had a nice reaction, went back to $8 from like $6. That was a nice little trade. And I think now it's like pretty much at a level where it looks like it's ready to short. So I'm just waiting for that kind of to reverse. And then I'll be shorting it down to the buy zones. Down back into this buy zone, probably won't hold it and keep going to the second one. It may be the top of the second one, maybe the bottom. So I'm just looking at levels of, this is a SR level right here, which is where support and resistance have flipped in the past. So as you saw in the past, it was resistance pretty much over here and here. And then all of a sudden when we got above it, it became support, kept bouncing off that area and going higher. So I'm looking at that to basically turn into either it gets back to this area down here again and bounces, or we come down to the next level lower. So that's
give me one or two more. Give me one or two more. What are the favorites?
Algorand, look at this one. We don't really have much lower than it can go. This is the lower low that I would think we would get to if it comes down with all these liquidity wicks. So what a wick is basically when you see there's a long, there's a candle and then there's like a long stem on it, right? So when you find a lot of those, that's where people will generally buy because that's where they bought in the past. It bounces from those levels and goes back up. AVAX, another really good one to look at.
What is the buying level for
Algorand?
Yeah.
I'm looking anywhere between 30 cents all the way down potentially to 18 cents. And how you would do this, you just dollar cost average. You may not get 100% of all the money you want to put into that trade, but you shouldn't care. That's the thing. You shouldn't always care. And don't ever put all your money in one place at one time. Your mom taught you this when you were a little kid. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Take your time. Okay. So Algorand, if you really like the project, then this is where you would start to dollar cost average. This is a zone. Doesn't mean you put all of it at the bottom or all of it at the top, but you know that you can start adding a little bit at a time and try to get somewhere in the middle of that zone as an average price.
Take me to RUNE, because I think a lot of us are invested in RUNE. I know I see the community are invested. What's the levels on RUNE?
I mean, the strongest level, to be completely honest, is like under $1, around 82, 83, 84 cents. Everything else is kind of really weak. I mean, it's only tapped these levels a few times. I mean, you could say maybe $1.30 could bounce. I just don't think it will. Same way as I didn't think the last all-time high would hold Bitcoin up. So
take me to Solana. Take me to Solana. Take me to Solana.
Okay, so I have 2 zones on Solana, and I would like to see both of them hit. So remember, I just talked about liquidity pockets. Let me make this bigger. We have huge liquidity pockets that are here from all the way back in April, in May, and in June last year. And these have never really come back and retested those levels. Very, very likely we go to those levels. Very likely someone is going to clean that up, meaning they're going to go into that area where there's probably tons of orders that have been set there, because other people will look at this exact same situation here, and they'll go and they'll set buy orders there. Now, if that doesn't just all of a sudden spring us higher, it's likely that it will go up like this one and start to come down and continue on a bearish path all the way down to zone number 2, which is our next level of support. And again, they're not strong. They haven't ever really been there for a long time. So we have to wait and see. So anywhere from like $24 to $12, those are areas where, hey, number one, if it goes into this area and you buy and it starts going higher, you might think it's going to come down. So I'm going to sell those areas as it goes higher.
Take me to Fantom.
Sorry again?
Take me to Fantom.
Fantom. Well, this is one that a lot of people don't like me for. Okay, so Fantom.
Head and shoulders. Inverse head and shoulders.
Yeah, this is an uglier one for a lot of people, and they're like, no, it can't happen. It could potentially turn into a head. I'm waiting for this kind of like bounce up here, make a nice right shoulder, and then it's like, boom, right back down to 2 cents. Now, people think I'm insane for that. Yeah, back down to 2 cents. So people think I'm insane for that. Remember, Andre left the project, number 1. Number 2, we're in a bear market. Number 3, like, I don't know any retail buying anything right now. And if there are people that have Fantom and start seeing it drop more, they're going to sell. It's just natural selection. Zero-sum markets. You're not always going to win.
Coach, one more. Take me to FTX, FTT.
FTT. I haven't done it. FTT forever. Let's see what I've got on here. Let's see. I haven't done it in a while, but I can do it right now. So FTT has no support right now. So what we're looking at here is like, where has this level gone from before? We've never been below, around this liquidity pocket. So kind of bounced like I talked about before. We have a liquidity pocket right here. Actually a little bit higher up to here. So you see these areas. So if you had bought, it would have bounced and you made a little bit of profit on this quick trade from $21 to $28. There's not much holding it from going further down. Super bearish on the daily. We can even look on a shorter time frame to get a better perspective, but it's underneath and retesting the 200 EMA, which is right here, this orange line. And so it's quite bearish. I mean, we're underneath the cloud. That's bearish. We don't have a bullish TK cross yet. There's nothing really bullish about any of this chart, even on a lower time frame. But here's the thing. If you're long term, you're going to be fine. You're going to be absolutely fine. Yeah.
What do you think of the fact, I'm trying to get the 200 weekly EMA. We're now 4 weeks. We're in the 4th week under the 200 weekly EMA. How significant is that in your analysis?
It's pretty significant. I mean, I've watched this too. You don't really have much on the Bitcoin one, but if you go to BLX, which is going to be a little bit messier, you do have this happen. And how many times have we been below it? I mean, it could signify if we start testing it a lot that we could go up and get out of this mess. But I mean, we have a lot of movement to go up before we even start doing that. So like I said, just plan for the worst situation. If you only get 20% of all these coins that fill, and if they go up exponentially, you didn't lose anything. But you lose a lot when you hold a token and you're like, oh, it might go back up. And this is like this mentality that everyone goes through. Oh, it'll go higher. It'll come back. But what should you be looking at? You should be looking at ETH gas fees. That was one of the first things I looked at when I was like, are we going in a bear market? Oh, shit, yeah. ETH gas fees are becoming, less than $1 for a trade? Why do you think that is? Because no one's using Ethereum. And it's not because they're using Solana or using FTT or any of the other one, or FTX, FTM or any of the other ones. It's mainly because there's no one actually buying. I know none of the people watching this show, or maybe some, are buying. Most people are not really buying a lot right this second. Because you're not seeing it.
A lot of people are asking me, they say I cut you off on AVAX. I'd hate to leave it without AVAX. So let's do AVAX as the last one, and then we've got to call it for today. We'll get you back here again. I know you're going traveling. So AVAX.
So AVAX has some really nice buy zone right now here. It's not too far off. And
what are those levels? Because they're very small. What are the levels? They're very, very small.
Sorry, let me make this a little bigger for you guys. Here we go.
You can just tell us.
AVAX, we're looking at this zone that we were in during the bull market that came back down the first time where I started telling people I'm switching my BNB up here to AVAX. Everyone thought I was crazy for that, and then it went and mooned. But I thought BNB was high. It's $500, so bought AVAX on the way down and came back up. And this zone is kind of where it started to bounce. So it came here, came back there, it got a little bit lower and bounced, came back to that double bottomed and started going. And I mean, that's the only area of actual support on AVAX right here is this pink line. So I'm looking at like a $10, $11 AVAX buy zone, potentially down to $9.50. And I'm not going to talk about what could happen if it goes lower, because we really would be like, it will be like Bitcoin dropping. It'll turn into an elevator going down that has nothing holding it up and just go straight down to this level at 550. So I'm watching for that. And it sounds super bearish. I'm not trying to be the bearer of bad news. What I am saying is take your time. Let the market come to you. If you're wrong because you put an order in and it doesn't hit, you lose $0.00. If you do nothing and you watch the market go down and you try to time the bottom up perfectly and you're wrong, then you don't make anything. So try to prepare for that, and then you'll be in the right side of the trade. Basically, that's what you want to be at. The last thing I would share with you guys is look at total market caps. Look at total market cap. Look at this level right here. I'm just going to zoom out to a weekly here just to show you something really quick. This is our weekly from way back here from 2015. And if we go all the way up, we can see that we're almost in this zone, and we might come into that zone as a wick down. So we could see a $650 billion market cap on our total market cap. That's $200 billion away. And that will probably happen with sideways first, and then we'll dump off. Let me make that bigger for you.
No, don't worry, because I'm watching a different chart right now, which is making me, bringing the blood back into my face. I mean, I don't know if you noticed, but I'll show you. It's actually quite weird how this happened. So watch how this happens, okay? So as I look at the Bitcoin chart, just look at the color come back into my face. Are you watching? I look at the Bitcoin chart and the color comes back into my face. See that? Because Bitcoin is just touching 20,000, so we're back at 19,900 at the moment. Listen, Coach, love you, Maggie, but need to go because we can't run these shows too long. Much love from the fan. Follow Coach on Twitter. His Twitter's below, and his YouTube is below. You can follow him on both those channels. We blew up his Twitter following over the weekend.
I will see you in a month, Ran. I'll be back, and then we can kick it and see where the market's at by then.
Much love, brother. All right, guys, that's where we're going to leave it for today. Tomorrow, I'm going to talk to you about Crypto School. I need you guys to help me, or not help me, help your friends, because we did our first Crypto School class this weekend. Our cohort, it finished this weekend. We are now ready to rock and roll, and we're going to put 1 million people through Crypto School. It's ready. We're ready. Tomorrow, I'm going to give you guys the details. I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Until then, happy 4th of July to the Americans, and trade well, everybody else. Enjoy this time. Go!